Shooter ready?
Ready.
Stand by.
Welcome, friends. So, as you might have seen this past week, I deviated a little bit from my typical Halo and archery content, and I put up a few shorts about my first competitive shooting match that I went to, which was a local IDPA match. And I had a ton of fun. It was a great experience. All the people that I met there were super friendly and welcoming. And it was also a great way to test my firearms handling skills in a more stressful environment. Now, if you're watching this and you've maybe watched some of my other content, whether it's about gaming or archery, you might be seeing this now and being like, again, what is he talking about? What is all of this USPSA, IDPA stuff? What do any of these acronyms mean? USPSA and IDPA are two different shooting sports, and they're both considered practical shooting. But what is practical shooting? Well, practical shooting is really just about shooting things fast while also shooting them accurately. And within both of these sports, USPSA and IDPA, they both have matches that are divided into different stages. So, for example, in the match that I shot this past weekend, there were 6 stages. And all a stage is a different scenario where you have multiple targets that are either obstructed by barriers or maybe there's no barriers at all and you just have to engage them in a specific sequence. Or in some cases, especially in USPSA, you can choose the sequence with which you engage certain targets. But your goal is to shoot through the course of fire in as fast of a time as possible while also maintaining accuracy. Now, there are other shooting sports as well, but USPSA and IDPA are undoubtedly the most popular practical shooting sports that you'll find. So why did I choose to compete in IDPA versus USPSA? Well, the main reason was because the IDPA matches were more accessible. And what I mean by that is I was easily able to find them online and register for them. I found out later when I was talking to some people at the IDPA match that people that run the USPSA matches at this range that I was at, apparently they don't publish their matches online until like a week before it's time for the matches to go live. And so because of that, I couldn't easily find them and register for them. Whereas the IDPA matches were scheduled out many months in advance online. And so because of that, I was like, well, I guess I'll try these IDPA matches. And so that was definitely the main reason, is just it was more accessible and I could easily find how to register for it. But there were some other reasons as well. The main reason, or the main other reason, if you will, is that the rules of IDPA, I think, seemed a little bit more conducive to my goals with competitive shooting. Namely, I want to practice with my concealed carry setup, this HK-VP9SK here. And the rules of IDPA are structured around, again, being more tactical and having an emphasis on concealing your weapon. Most of the stages that we had to shoot required you to draw your weapon from concealment. And so because of that, I felt like my gear, I have an inside the waistband holster, this tier 1 concealed holster, which is an inside the waistband hand carry holster. And then again, I have a subcompact pistol that I wanted to shoot. And so it seemed like the rules kind of gelled more a little bit with what my goals are. Now, from what I've looked up though, I think I could shoot this weapon in in USPSA and everything would be fine. But I think that just, especially as somebody who is coming at it from a beginner perspective, the IDPA rule set seemed to be a little more conducive to what my goals were. So what exactly was my experience, and then what do you need to have prepared for your first IDPA match? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to register for it online. You can compete in up to 3 IDPA matches before joining the IDPA organization. So you don't need to worry about that yet. But you do need to register for the match. And then when you're on the website, it's called Practice Score, and I'll have it on screen for you right now. You can find all sorts of IDPA matches going on in your state, all across the country, and all sorts of other shooting matches as well. So definitely check that out if you do want to compete in something like USPSA or any other organization as well. And once you're on the website, you then need to choose what division you want to compete in. And now, when I was looking over this at first, it was very confusing because it's like very daunting. There are several different divisions, and it can kind of be confusing to know, like, oh, like, is my gear going to be legal? Do I have the right gear? The main two divisions that I would argue 90% of shooters are going to fall into, especially new shooters, honestly, new shooters in particular are probably going to be like 95% in these two categories. And the first of those two categories is stock service pistol. Stock service pistol is exactly what it sounds like. It's going to be a stock handgun that you got out of the box with no modification. And so typically a full-size gun at that as well. So this is an example of an HK VP9. If you see this little tab on here, this is actually a tab that indexes with the holster that I'm using for it. So it's actually a good question. I don't know if this would be legal or not. I'm sure at a local match, I'd probably be able to get away with it. But maybe at some of the more high-level matches, they might not like that. But in general, this handgun has nothing done to it. The trigger is still stock. The slide is still stock. The grip is still stock. I do have some grip tape on it here. But I think that would be legal. I think that's legal in the handbook. But I would have to double-check that. But that would be no big deal. I could just remove that if I needed to. The other division that a lot of people would fall into, and the one that I competed in, is carry optics. And so you can see here from my HK VP9 SK, I have this Leupold Delta Point Pro mounted onto it, and this makes it a carry optics division gun. And I was not sure about that at first when I was looking at the rules because this is a compact handgun, but basically, if it has a dot on it and there's no other modifications to the gun, that is going to make it a carry optics division gun. And so that was the division that I competed in. And again, I think both of these two divisions, the stock service pistol or the carry optics divisions, are going to be the two most popular divisions, especially for newer shooters. So what exactly do you need to compete in your first IDPA match? Well, I already was covering it a little bit with the guns, but I'll start there again. The first thing you need is obviously a quality handgun. The one that I chose to run in this match was this HK VP9 SK. And again, it had this Leupold red dot on it. So I was competing in the carry optics division. So that is the first and most important thing you need. But another very important thing you need is a holster, a quality holster. This is an inside the waistband holster. This is actually a Tier 1 Concealed Access Elite holster. I've had it for a few months now, and I really like it, and it performed really well for me in this match. But again, some shooters were showing up with outside the waistband holsters, and then they would bring these like fishing jackets to cover their holster, and it looked pretty goofy. And so I think for the most competitive, most competition-oriented shooters, that might be a better solution because it's faster and it allows you to not have to worry about getting through your shirt to get to your firearm. But for me, I actually really wanted to use this because, again, I wanted to test my concealed carry setup in a bit more of a stressful situation. So this, again, is another very important piece of gear that you need to have. The next thing you need to have is some magazines. Now, because I was competing in the carry optics division, the round capacity limits for that division cap out at 10 rounds per magazine. So I was able to get away with shooting this match with only 2 magazines. Now, these do carry more than 10 rounds, but for the rules of the match, I was only able to load them up to 10 rounds per mag. And then in some of the stages rather, they were even less than that. And so that, I know for some shooters, is kind of annoying, especially people coming from USPSA where they're allowed to have far more round capacity in the magazines. But I think for new shooters, it's very friendly because you don't need to go out and buy more magazines. So I was able to use these 2 mags that came with the gun. And I was very grateful, even though they were dropped on the gravel and dirt got on them. They performed well, and I had 0 malfunction with this gun during the match or the magazine. So that was also very good. The final thing you will need is, of course, ammunition. And I use this 124 grain Blazer ammunition. I typically shoot 115 because it's cheaper, but I was actually able to find this 124 grain on a pretty good deal. So I ended up picking up around 250 rounds of this ammunition, this 124 grain. And it performed well. Again, I had no malfunctions. And again, I purchased about 250 rounds, but I only ended up using about 120 rounds. So it wasn't as ammunition intensive as I thought it would be. This ammunition performed very well. And so I would recommend, though, going to your first match with at least 200 rounds, just in case there are more stages than mine, or maybe some of the stages require higher round counts. Whatever the case might be, you have malfunctions. If you have an HK, you won't have that problem, or a Glock. If you have a Glock or an HK, you won't have that problem. But yeah, so be sure that you have ammunition to get yourself all the way through each of your stages. So how did I do? And what was my experience? And what did I learn? Well, I actually did pretty well, considering that it was my first time. I placed 15th out of 33 shooters. And I was actually really pleased with that, considering the fact that I had never done any sort of competitive shooting match before. The main takeaway that I had, or the main lesson, main area that I could improve upon, would be my execution of the stages and paying attention to the different rules. And what I mean by that is certain stages would have certain requirements that you had to meet. Especially with an IDPA, there's this rule called tactical priority, where you have to engage the targets closest to you first, and then you could back out and engage the targets that are further away. On one of the stages that I did, I shot the targets out of order, and this caused me to have a big time penalty. Another thing that I messed up on was there might be a stage where I needed to shoot a target 3 times, but I only shot it twice. And so this definitely hurt my time. And I had 2, 3, 4 mistakes kind of like that. So I really feel like if I clean up kind of that procedural stuff, that will be something that definitely allows me to place better. And then, of course, there's so much other time that could be saved, whether it's my split times or my reload speeds, maybe. I don't know. I feel like I was actually doing pretty good on reloads, but there's always areas to improve on. And so I'm really looking forward to going to another IDPA match and implementing the things I learned in this match going forward. Overall, I had a really great time, and I'm really looking forward to going to another match. One thing that made it really fun, though, was just how nice everyone was. One of the main match organizers at the club was super friendly. He competes in both USPSA and IDPA, and he was super welcoming and was willing to answer any questions that I had. And so I really appreciated that friendly atmosphere. I also got to meet a really cool Marine Corps Vietnam War veteran who was there. As someone who served in the Marine Corps myself, it was really an honor to meet somebody who served in the Marine Corps during that time. He also brought the coolest gun out to the competition. He brought a suppressed 9mm Tavor, and he offered me the opportunity to shoot it as well. So that was also a really fun experience. So I would absolutely recommend to anybody, go out to these matches. Learn those lessons, take the time to improve your handgun skills, and also just have a good time and meet cool people. that are interested in similar things that you're interested in. And so I'll wrap it up here. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be bringing out more content that's firearm related here in the near future. And I've also got some other gaming related videos that are in the pipeline. And I should be making it out to the field and bow hunting soon. So once I can get out and do that, hopefully I'll have some hunting related content as well. Again, thank you all. That'll be all for me today.